Eddie Hearn's dad, Barry Hearn, aka Bazza, the king of hype. This is a very divisive character, even in the UK, Barry Hearn, because of the fact that he's the king of hype, because of the fact that he comes out with outrageous and outlandish statements a lot of the time. I mean, in the UK, Eddie Hearn gets a lot of stick, as people, as you know, we like to say. People who are from the UK, we like to say stick. Stick just basically means gets a lot of flack from fans, but his dad gets 2 or 3 times as much flack from fans as the son Eddie, because the dad just goes overboard with the hype talk. I personally find it funny in a WWE type way. I find Baz's interviews to be hilarious because of the ridiculous stuff that he says. But in this particular interview here that Bazza has given on Sky Sports, you can click this video right here. I'm not going to do it because, you know, copyright and all that business. But you can go click this video and you'll see Bazza Hearn talking about the situation with Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. And he says that, you know, Wilder isn't making any money. He probably looks at Joshua with a good degree of jealousy. He says he's the biggest name in America, but he's earning less than 1/10 of what Anthony earns per fight. I certainly think there's jealousy there. I think Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury are both envious of Anthony Joshua's position in the heavyweight division right now, financially, and also just in terms of the number of fans that he gets to his fights and all that kind of business. I think there's envy there, 100%. Competitive envy, but an envy nonetheless. And what else does Bazza say here? Yeah, we're going to pay you $15 million to live the dream and find out how good you are. We are committed. We've got Wembley booked. And if it's not Wilder, it's got to be someone else. So yeah, the offer's on the table for Wilder, but Wilder's turned it down. And let's be real here. Wilder has now turned down 2 offers to face Anthony Joshua. Yeah, 2 offers. Joshua has turned down 1 offer to face Wilder in the States. Wilder has turned down 2 offers to face Anthony Joshua in the UK. And this is an offer right now which is on the table that he could sign today and be guaranteed that $15 million payday in April. Man turned it down. So for the record, let's not try to say that Joshua's the one getting in the way of this fight happening. He's not. Because the contract is right there on the table. $15 million is more than Deontay Wilder is going to get anywhere else, unless he somehow manages to get Tyson Fury in the ring before April. We'll see. But even against Tyson Fury, I can't imagine he'll get $15 million unless Fury's willing to take the short end of the stick financially. So, and I'd be surprised if he was. So anyway, you have a look at this particular interview with Bazza Hearn coming out with his hype talk. Now, here's one thing I will say though. Deontay Wilder has been constantly saying that Anthony Joshua is not really in control of his career. That Anthony Joshua is essentially a puppet and he's not the one making all the decisions. Now, the Hearns try and say the exact opposite. They always say that Anthony Joshua is the boss. And certainly on the surface, it would appear that Anthony Joshua is the boss. Because you look at Anthony Joshua starting his own management company and he manages certain fighters that are under the Matchroom banner. He manages Lawrence Okolie and Joshua Buatsi, for example. But at the same time, if you watch this interview with Bazza Hearn, there's almost a Freudian slip, a slip of the tongue, where Bazza Hearn says Anthony knows the rules. Now that might not mean anything. That might just be an innocuous comment. That might just be a throwback to Bazza's previous career as a boxing promoter back in the 90s when, in his words, boxing was like a slave master slave type situation. That's what Bazza Hearn said in his own words in an interview. He was very candid about it. So that might just be a slip of the tongue throwback to that. Or maybe there's something deeper going on here. Maybe the Hearns do have more control over Anthony Joshua than they're letting on. They're saying the opposite. They're saying Joshua's the boss and all the decisions ultimately come down to him. But Deontay Wilder don't believe that's the case. And if it isn't the case, if Joshua isn't in charge as much as the Hearns say he is, Joshua's got the opportunity to leave, right? Because his contract with Matchroom expires quite shortly. this year, I believe. So he's got the opportunity, if he wants to cut Matchroom loose and go elsewhere. Go somewhere else that will give him more freedom and more say over his career. So I guess we'll find out in due course whether Anthony Joshua really is the boss or not. You know, when it comes to the end of his contract, we'll see what he does. But if he decides to stay with Matchroom, then that would seem to suggest that he's happy with the job that Matchroom are doing with him. And in which case, he probably is the boss. You know, but I'm certainly willing to explore the possibility that all is not quite what it seems on the surface in this situation here with the Hearns and Anthony Joshua. I'm willing to explore that possibility, definitely. You know, but regardless of all that, regardless of whether Joshua is the boss or isn't the boss, bottom line is there's still an offer there for Deontay Wilder to face Joshua in April. They've got Wembley booked. It's $15 million. That's more than Wilder's going to make fighting Dominic Breazeale or anybody else in the WBC top 15. Certainly, anyone, no fight's going to pay him that before April, other than Joshua at this juncture. So that's still on the table. Wilder has turned it down. So at the moment, he's the one getting in the way of this fight happening. Unfortunately, whether AJ's a puppet or not, it's Wilder and his team that are preventing the fight at this juncture because they've just turned down a second offer. So let me know how you feel about this in the comment section below, people. Let me know how you feel about all the points I've raised, all the topics of conversation in this particular video. Particularly with Anthony Joshua, is he really the boss? You know, and Barry Hearn was quick after he said Anthony Joshua knows the rules. And let me just put it into context. He was talking about Joshua's job being the one who goes in the ring and does the fighting. But all of the negotiating and all of the back and forth in the media, leave that to Matchroom. You do your job in the ring, Anthony. You leave all the talking outside the ring to us. And that's when he said Anthony knows the rules. But shortly after that, he said, well, you know, Anthony Joshua's the boss, isn't he? You know, he decides what happens. And if it's like in his head, he realized how he came across by saying Anthony knows the rules. You realize, oh, hang on, that makes it sound like we've got Joshua under manners and he's doing what we tell him to do. So let me just remind people that Anthony Joshua is actually the boss. I did find that interesting. Anyway, have a watch of the video for yourselves. Let me know how you feel about everything I've talked about. All right, it's happening. I'm out.